The Intelligence Committee Chair Adam Schiff wants the Attorney General of the United States to release classified information. The Judiciary Chair Jerry Nadler wants the Attorney General of the United States to release grand jury material. That's where we're at, because they are so focused on getting the president. Forget about the rule of law and how things are supposed to happen. They're all about getting the president, and that is a sad state of affairs.
So Jim Jordan calling out his colleagues. Democrats have ramped up their investigation of the president in a significant way, too. They moved on 3 issues in about 8 hours yesterday. Ken Starr wrote the book Contempt, a memoir of the Clinton investigation. He's got some experience on this. And, sir, good morning to you in Waco, Texas, and thank you. Thank you for coming back here. Jerry Nadler said his committee must see everything that Barr has in his possession. How much do you think they will see, or perhaps, given your experience in this, how much do you think we see in the end?
We have to protect grand jury information, full stop. Now, there can be a court order under certain circumstances to reveal this, but, you know, there are policy reasons for grand jury secrecy. It's not just a rule. It's a rule that says, witness, when you go before the grand jury, you can rest assured, you got to be truthful, don't lie, but you can rest assured that that will remain confidential except the most extraordinary circumstances. Just wide and full disclosure is just not anticipated by witnesses. So I think it really tugs at the very purpose and function of a grand jury. Leaving aside national security information, as we know, Bob Mueller reached out to a number of foreign countries. There's some 13 requests of foreign countries. So there's a lot of sensitive stuff, and we haven't even gotten to privacy interests that Chairman Nadler used to care a lot about.
Yeah, the way the law was for you 21 years ago, you were required to give your report to Congress. The way the law is since is that, you know, Mueller's required to give his information to Attorney General William Barr, to which he said last Friday afternoon, we're preparing the report for the release, and the special counsel is assisting us in this process. Peel back the curtain. Are they all in a room together saying what's in and what's out? How does that work?
Yeah, they will literally be in a room going line by line. Obviously, we live in the electronic age, but I'll bet you a nickel that they are sitting around going line by line through the report, so that's going to take a while. But Bill Barr has promised transparency, so he's going to try to do his job to protect the sanctity and the confidentiality of the grand jury process. Again, we've talked about national security information, but they're going in with highlighters and saying, hey, this is grand jury information, so we've got to be careful about that. So, by the way, just as a quick editorial note, we now see the problems of what we used to do during the statute under which I operate, which is full disclosure, give it to Congress, and then Congress will do whatever it wants. So guess what Congress did with the so-called Starr report? It revealed it all, shockingly, right? And then people recoiled and said, well, we don't want that anymore. That's what these regulations are designed to do, to stop that kind of complete, full Monty disclosure.
No. You were accused of presidential harassment in the 1990s. You remember that all too well. And now the president's going to say the same thing. In 8 hours yesterday, as I mentioned a moment ago, the request for tax returns for 6 years, financial records from his company, and also the full Mueller report, as I mentioned a moment ago as well. How do you now look at what is happening as we await the Barr conclusions?
Bill, it's clear that it's all-out war against the president. The House of Representatives, the majority, is seeking to use its entire power to do everything it can on every front to go after the president of the United States. But guess what? The president is going to have defenses. He's going to have responses. This may very well end up in court if this continues. So we've got a lot of stormy weather ahead, unfortunately.
Well, Ken Starr, I hope you come back when the clouds clear. Or before. Thank you so much for your time today. Nice to talk to you.
My pleasure.
Sandra.
In the last 2 years, we've embarked on an unprecedented economic revival. Unprecedented. America is now the hottest economy anywhere on the planet Earth. There's nobody close.
That was President Trump Thursday night touting the strength of the U.S. economy at a rally in Grand Rapids, Michigan. The president hoping to make his economic record a cornerstone of his re-election campaign. But are there signs of a slowdown heading into 2020. Let's ask White House advisor Larry Kudlow. He is chairman of the National Economic Council. Larry, welcome.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate
so we know the economy is slowing. Fourth quarter revised down to 2.2 from 2.6. How do you explain what's going on?
You know, it's tricky business right now on the data because, first of all, you always have lousy seasonal adjustments in wintertime. Commerce Department, I wish they'd get their act together. You did have a government shutdown, which did impact some of the numbers. But, let me say, inside that report, cap goods, business investment spending looked good. That's a key stone. Our lower tax rates and deregulations continues to pay off. CapEx, productivity, jobs and wages, that's the strongest part of the story. All of that creates plenty of incomes. So I think we're going to get all that back and then some once we get into the second quarter. We got to get through the first quarter. Historically, the first quarter is always the low ball quarter. I can't help it. If the Commerce Department, maybe they should do condominiums there instead of the economic analysis.
Come on. Okay,
Sorry.
So you're going to see a low number in the first quarter. But here's another signal, and it's the bond market, okay? Yes. And now the 10-year, I think, 10-year Treasury is lower than the Fed funds rate. That's telling us something. What is it telling us if not recession?
I don't know if it tells us recession. It is a warning. No question. Second point, I think it tells us the Fed is probably too tight in its policy.
Really?
Yes.
Cut again. Should cut.
The Fed is independent. You asked my view. I would say that my view is coinciding with President Trump's view on this. And I think market people, you see it everywhere now, believe that their actions in the fourth quarter were much too stringent. So that's what it's telling us. I also think, I speak to Fed people, of course, they believe that that's something they have to watch very carefully.
So you could see, you think, actually a 25 basis point cut here coming up? You would not be surprised if you saw that?
I don't know the timing of it. I'm reading it in the market. I'm looking at the Fed funds futures market, commodity markets, tips markets. Wouldn't surprise me. And to tell you the truth, would probably make me quite happy.
All right. So we also have problems overseas. Europe is not doing well. Italy may be already in recession, maybe Germany too. And, of course, the Brexit woes. And China has slowed considerably. How much is that going to wash up into U.S. growth?
Look, it affects us, there's no question. But it's not. You can overplay that card, too. Our incentive structure with lower taxes and regulations and energy and trade reform, our incentive structure is in very good shape. The president is rebuilding the economy. So I don't deny that these overseas weaknesses will have an impact. But, on the trade basis, it's really not a large part of GDP. We're a homegrown economy. We're the strongest economy in the world. As the clip said, the president is still bragging on the economy. He's right to do so. Money is pouring into the United States for direct investment, which is what we really want in autos and manufacturing and whatnot. So I'm not going to deny that the overseas weakness, but I don't want to overplay that card either. I don't see any reason why we can't get back to a 3% growth path by the spring.
Okay. Now, the one reason I would suggest maybe we wouldn't would be trade. And we've got these tariffs that are on the economy, on imports, and we also have retaliation that's hitting the Farm Belt in particular, as you know. How close are we to a China trade deal that would release some of this uncertainty?
Well, the early reports from the Lighthizer and Mnuchin trip, they're on the plane back, so I haven't talked to them, is that more progress was made. And that's been a pretty steady drumbeat. More progress is being made.
But is it true, Larry, that 70–80% of this thing is already written and you're just waiting for the kind of the toughest little end game here?
We're coming down to the final strokes. I want to try to make a point. I haven't really been successful about making this point to the media. I'm going to try you. The deal, as President has said, has to be a great deal for the United States. Structurally, right, IP protections.
Take on the tough issues.
Transfers of technology, ownership, cyber hacking, et cetera, and enforcement, along with the commodity purchases and so forth. Look, it's not time sensitive. It's never been time sensitive. Now, I've been saying that. however unsuccessfully for the past week. You're an exception to the rule regarding the media.
Larry, in my view, it is time sensitive because the economy needs this uncertainty lifted off its shoulders.
We will have to have a great deal for this to work, and if that takes a little longer, it will take a little longer. I've spoken to Ambassador Lighthizer on this many times. The Federal Reserve is data dependent. The China deal is not time dependent. For another few weeks, I was quoted as saying a few weeks or a month. I don't know. I'm just saying it's got to be the right deal. And look, you know, the enforcement aspects of this are crucial. And we have a very good multi-tiered enforcement plan. It will be backed up by tariffs. And we believe if complaints are registered and we accept them, we will use tariffs, and China cannot retaliate. They should fix the complaint.
And it'll be fascinating,
Larry. If these things take a couple more days or another week or, heaven forbid, another month, so be it. It could be the most historic, important, pro-growth trade deal, Paul. But we have to get it right and be patient. We have to be patient.
All right. We're going to be patient by necessity. But one thing we're not impatient about, and I don't have a lot of time here, but when are you going to lift the steel tariffs on Mexico and Canada? You promised to do it if we got a new NAFTA. You still have them on.
It's tied up with the USMCA vote in Congress, which I think, was rather, the outlook there is pretty good. Again, I don't know the timing. Speaker Pelosi has been very good to Lighthizer. She's given him complete access to the Democratic side. He's talking to Canada and Mexico. He wants to shift this away from tariffs and towards some sort of quota system, flexible quota system. He's gaining on it. It's not easy. We're working hard on it. I'm going to play that from the optimistic side also. For an administration that was regarded as highly protectionist and so forth, we're very close to a major deal in North America and China, and we're talking to Japan, and we're talking to Europe, sir. I think things are looking okay.
All right, we'll be watching that. Thank you, Mr. Kudlow.